Have you ever been in a situation where you're working with Claude, you're getting great responses, and just as you're about to reach that perfect final output, the session limit hits. And now you have to wait for the next 5 hours before you can continue. Well, that used to happen a lot to me before I understood how to reverse engineer that. You might think that your back and forth with Claude is exhausting your session limit. While that sounds right, there's much more to it. And in this video, I'm covering exactly that. Firstly, we will be understanding what exactly is consuming the session limit. Then we will be reverse engineering that, and I will be sharing tips and tricks that I have been following to preserve my session limit. First up, we will be covering Claude, and then I will be covering Claude Code. So if you want to get the most out of your Claude subscription, watch this video till the very end. So hello everyone, my name is Yashica Jain. I'm an AI automation expert helping businesses automate their manual processes using AI. So if you're a business owner and you want to get your manual processes automated with AI, check out the link to our website in the description. Alright, so starting off, we're first going to understand the logic behind the usage. Because only after you understand what is happening under the hood will you be able to reverse engineer. So it's very important for you to understand that your messages are not contributing to the usage. Any AI model on this planet counts tokens and not messages. So one token is about 3/4 of a word. Or you can understand it this way, that one token is equal to 4 English characters. So how many characters or letters that you're using contributes directly to your usage. But here's the twist. The same prompt is cheap at the beginning of a chat and becomes expensive as the chat progresses. Now, why is that and how is it possible? If you're sending the same number of characters, how does the cost increase? Well, every time you send a new message in the chat, it is not only sending that message, but also the messages prior to it. So every turn is going to resend your whole conversation up until that point. This is a depiction of what is being sent to the AI model. The yellow line here is the new message, which is the same each time. But as the number of messages increase from 1 to 20 to 50 to 100, the cost increases because your entire chat memory is being passed along. Okay, so now you understand that the usage exponentially increases as you progress in a chat. It doesn't matter how long or how short your new message is. The chat history is what is piling up. So is that it? No, that's not it. There's more that is affecting your usage. Any files that you attach, they affect your usage to a great extent because it keeps rereading your file. If you have any tools or connectors turned on, that also affect your usage. Obviously, the new message that you type, that adds to the usage. And then whatever Claude responds back with, that also adds to the usage. It is not just what you're sending, but also what you're receiving from the other end. And if you have the thinking mode on or the effort level is quite high, then also the reasoning or the thinking tokens add. So all of these together contribute to the usage. So now you're like, okay, Yashica, I understand what is consuming my session limit. Now, how do I stop that? How do I reverse engineer it? So we will get to that just in a moment. Before that, you must understand that there is a 5-hour session window that keeps on rolling throughout the day. And on top of that, there's also a weekly limit that sits on your monthly plan. So there are 2 different ones that can stop you from working. And all of your Claude AI usage, any Claude desktop usage, any Claude Code usage, all of that comes from the same monthly subscription, which is this session window right here. So first I'm going to cover the token optimization techniques for your Claude chat, the one that looks like this. And then we're going to move on to Claude Code. The number one technique that can save you a lot of tokens is starting a fresh chat as much as possible. You must keep one chat or one conversation for one task. As soon as that is completed, start a new chat for your new task. But if there is a situation where you're just working on one task, but your chat is getting longer and longer, well, in that case, what you can do is you can hand it off to a new chat. So before you leave that chat, you can ask for a recap of what you have done so far, what decisions have been made, and where you left off or where the new one has to pick up from. After that, you can copy that short summary and you can paste it in a new chat. Now what that will do is it will stop this graph. You will clear out all of this accumulation right away and you will start fresh from here. Yes, that summary that you send would take a little bit of space, but that is much better than this. And you can do this handoff every 20 to 30 messages. Really depends on how long they are, but if you feel that the chat is getting long, you can just hand it off to a new one. So let's suppose that this is a chat where I've been going on for a long time. So if I want to start a fresh chat, I will simply tell it to summarize the chat in a concise manner along with the key decisions or key insights, include where we left off and where we need to pick it up from. Alright, here's our summary. I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to open a fresh chat. I will send this, and at the bottom, I'll just tell it to pick up from where we left. And we are all set. So there you go. Now you can easily continue from here, and your session limit won't be wasted by that chat history that wasn't contributing anyways. The main context that was needed is preserved. Let's move on to the next step. So if you find yourself repeating the same instructions over and over again to Claude, you can do this. You can go to your settings, and under the general tab, you'll find instructions for Claude. And right here, in a very concise manner, you can mention whatever you want Claude to remember each time. For example, I like my responses to be concise and to the point. So I can tell it that I prefer responses that are concise and to the point. So now I don't have to repeat this all the time to Claude, it knows that by default. You can also use this to give it any sort of persona. For example, act as a personal assistant or act as a board member, but make sure you keep it as short as possible. The next tip on the list is batch your questions. So if you want to ask Claude 3 different things, it is better to ask it in one go than in 3 different messages. Because firstly, it is accumulating the number of messages, and secondly, Claude has to use the context again and again to come up with the answer. So why not send it in one go? And this also applies to tasks, not just question. For example, research, come up with a PDF report and write a LinkedIn post. So instead of sending it 3 different times, you can send it in one message. Alright, the next one is for the people who use files a lot. So if you're someone who uses attachments, then you should use projects more than single isolated conversations. So right here in projects, you can create a new project. You can give it a name. So let me give it any name. Alright, create. Now here you can drop any files, PDFs, documents, or text references. And any chats that you do inside of this project is going to refer to those files. Now why this is so amazing is because this uses RAG, which means only the relevant information will be extracted from the file instead of reloading the file again and again in the chat. So you can just upload it once and then you can keep on reusing it across any chat that you do within this project. And it also helps you organize your stuff. And on top of that, you can add custom instructions. So it's a win-win for you. Tip number 5 says that you must turn off any tools that you don't need. If you're not using a certain connector, if you're not using a certain functionality, turn it off, because that right there consumes tokens. So for example, if I go to connectors, I have Canva turned on, but I'm not using it all the time, so I can turn it off. Only when I need it, I can turn this on. The same thing goes for research, for web search, for any plugins that you're using. And also inside of your settings, under capabilities, make sure that this option is selected, load the tools when needed, instead of the second option. So we want to keep the chat as light as possible. The next tip is something that I can bet everyone is doing wrong at the moment. So whenever we ask Claude to do anything for us and we don't like it, we simply tell it that edit it, make that change, I don't like it, or something like, no, I meant that, I did not mean this. Which means we send it follow-ups. But follow-ups accumulate and they add to the chat history. So what is the fix? The fix is simple. You should edit your original message instead of following up as much as possible. So let me tell it what is the color of apple. And it should say the color of apple is red. Now if I want to say that no, I meant the color of Apple's logo, I'm not going to send it as another message. Instead, I will just edit this here and I will ask it what is the color of Apple's logo. Save. And there you go. So neither did the previous input message nor did the output message contribute to the context or the chat history. I find this one quite smart actually. We all know that we can edit messages, but we never use that. And since I've got to know about this, I never send a follow-up message. I just simply edit it. Now here's another one which is my personal favorite, which is the timing trick. So basically you can trigger your 5-hour window early on so that the reset lands when you start working. So we know that there's a 5-hour limit, 5-hour session limit. But when does that start? It doesn't start automatically at, let's say, 6 a.m. in the morning. No, it starts when you send it the first message. Now that could be at any point in time. So now usually you would send the first message when you start working, right? I hope no one is telling Claude good morning. But if you do tell it good morning at around a few hours before you start working, you can basically unlock a window. So understand it this way. If you start working at 10 and you send it the first message at 10, then your first window is from 10 all the way to 3. And you're probably logged in during this period, so you need more usage. So instead what you can do is, you can send it a message as soon as you wake up. It could be 6, it could be 8. Let's take an example that it's at 8. So then what happens, you send it good morning at 8, and then your limit is going to reset at 1. So you get one window from 10 a.m. to 1. 10 is when you start working. So from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and that resets quite quickly after you start working. If you want, you can even stretch it further. For example, you can set up a cron job, which is a scheduled automation that runs, let's say, at 5 a.m. in the morning or at 6 a.m. in the morning. So since I've gotten to know this, I'm sending Claude a message as soon as I wake up. I'm even thinking of setting up a cron job. I'm just being lazy about it. Maybe I'll do it after this video. So that on my Claude screen, I see that your usage will reset in 1 hour or 2 hours instead of it will reset in 5 hours. Number 8, you should know about the peak hours. So Claude has told us that if you're working during the peak hours, your usage is going to drain faster. Yes. So this is usually during weekdays and around US mornings. So if possible, avoid these peak hours. Maybe if you're in the US, work late at night, or you convert it based on your time zone. In India, daytime is fine. You can work during the day, but as the night progresses, that takes you towards the peak hours. Now, the last time I checked, this was still effective. I don't know when you're watching this video, maybe they have changed the peak hours rule, or maybe they've removed it, or they've made it even stricter. So you just check it when you're watching this video. And those are all the tips that I have for your Claude chat. If you use them in a disciplined manner, you're not going to hit your session limit. Tip number 1 is going to contribute the most as compared to the other one, and that is because of this right here. Next up, I want to move over to Claude Code, because Claude Code is the biggest eater of tokens. So the first tip for Claude Code is quite same as that of Claude Chat, wherein we are going to clear the chat as much as possible, which means we're going to start a new session as much as possible. And the reason here as well remains the same, the piling up of history. The way you do it is a little different. So here what you can do is you can maintain a handoff file. So inside of your project, you can have a handoff file that you can update each time, and the next session can read that to get oriented, basically pick up from where you left. Alright, so let's say that this was the chat. It is quite long now, and now I want to start fresh. So I'm just going to ask it to write to a handoff.md file what we have been working on so far and what is yet to be accomplished. Mention any decisions, any mistakes, any learnings from the work done so far. Think as if you're handing it off to another team member. Keep it concise. Alright, and it is written the handoff file. So what is done, what is not done, key decisions, known issues, watchouts. And now I can do a /clear, and I can ask it to read the handoff.md file and continue from where we left. Or you can ask it what are the next steps. The reason why I'm not copy pasting a summary is because you can maintain this file inside Claude Code. And the next time you want to clear this one out, you can just ask it to update this one. Inside of Claude Chat, we didn't have an option to maintain something like this, so we had to do the copy pasting thing. But now it's just a file that you maintain over time. Alright, it has started doing, so I'll just stop it. And anytime you're doing any unrelated work, just use the /by the way command, which is btw command, so that it doesn't add to your chat history. The next one is /compact. So Claude Code by default auto compacts the conversation once it gets longer. And when it does compact it, it summarizes the thread and restarts from the summary. Something very similar to what we did here. But this really reduces the quality of the responses you get from then on. Instead, what you can do is you can compact it yourself once you think you have completed one feature or you've completed one task. So whenever a phase completes, you compact it yourself. Now, I personally don't do this. Instead, I lean more towards this, which is, maintaining a file and just clearing and moving forward. But in case you're not doing this, at least do the compacting thing so that your chat doesn't get dumber when you're actually working on a very important feature. So you can choose from one of them, it's fine. The next one is the plan mode. So if you're working on a big project, it's better if you first start off with the plan mode. Yes, it's going to take tokens. Yes, it's going to add to your chat history, but it's actually better than it building it and then you're fixing things and both of you are not on the same page and you're rebuilding things. So you can first enter plan mode. You can plan what you're going to do and then you can ask it to build it for you. Reworking is something that we want to avoid. Moving on to point number 4. So similar to what we did inside of our chat, Claude chat, which is edit a message. Here, what we can do is we can do a /rewind, which basically rolls back. So for example, if I go here and I do /rewind, it's going to ask me to select the message. So let's say I want to restore up to this point. So then it's going to say that all of this work will be removed. So then you can continue. Or let's say I want to restore till this point, which is the handoff file, which we just now did. So then it's going to remove the handoff file. Then I can continue. Let me do continue. And we're back. So instead of following back up, you can do this. And to be honest, this is a very important feature in Claude Code. You asked it to make a change to your app, it messed up, and now you want to go back. So you can just rewind. Another point which is Claude Code specific is that if possible, point it to the files. So don't be vague like look through the project and fix this. Instead, if you know which file you're referring to, just give it the file name or the specific file path. And that can save you a lot of tokens that Claude uses to go through your code base. Point number 6, keep your claude.md file lean. Now everyone glamorizes the claude.md file. You must add this, you must add that. But I would say that only keep the things that matter the most to you, because this is going to load every time you start a new session. So even before you send your first message, it takes away context. So only keep the essential ones and turn the rest of them to skills, and that can really help. Point number 7, one task per session. If possible, keep it one feature per session or one bug fix per session. We don't want to research in the same session and then building the feature in the same session and bug fixing in the same session. No. Point number 8, a little on the advanced side of things, but if you do understand, then this can help you. So you can basically use the orchestrator pattern. So you can basically spin up a sub-agent that does a particular task for you. So what you can do is you can keep your main session for direction and review, and then you can have a sub-agent that works on the actual task. And the sub-agent is the one that absorbs the heavy context as well. So you can use 2 different models for them. For example, the manager uses Sonnet and workers use Opus. So that helps you, use less tokens. Again, not everyone might be comfortable with this, but if you do understand this, this can help you. Point number 9 is around the model and effort. To be honest, this also applies to your Claude chat, wherein you must switch the models as per your task and also the effort level. And the same goes for Claude Code. So you can do /model and you can easily change the model based on what you're trying to do. Haiku is good for basic tasks, Sonnet is good for all of them, and Opus is good for a complex one. So if you keep switching, again, that saves a lot of tokens. Opus uses almost 2 times the tokens that Sonnet uses. Turns out you're doing a simple task and you have chosen Opus and now boom, your session limit is gone. The 10th tip here wants you to disable any MCP servers that you're not using, because all of their definitions are sitting in the context and they do contribute a lot. Keep minimum MCP servers on and active, the ones that you use all the time. For any other ones, disable them, even delete them. One more, which is my personal favorite, the meta move. So whenever you're building something, try it with this mindset that you build it once and you run it forever for free. Let me explain with a simple example. Let's say that you want to build a project that checks a website for updates every day. Now you have 2 options. The expensive way is that you're using your LLM search the site daily and then it's gonna tell you about the updates. Well, that burns tokens. Instead, what you can do is you can use the free way. The free way is that you ask Claude Code to write a code script once that scrapes the page and alerts you on changes. So this is something that you just have to build it once and it's going to run again and again without consuming tokens. LLM checks are going to take tokens away every single day. The free way only takes it once when you're actually building it, and from then on it's free. This mindset in itself can help you a lot. The last point for Claude Code is measuring where your tokens are going. Inside of Claude Code, it's quite simple. You go to settings and usage, and you see this bar that tells you about your usage. But inside of Claude Code, what you can do is you can do /usage, and that gives you the usage right there. And it also tells you about what is contributing to your limit usage. For example, this skill is contributing 9%. This skill is contributing 8%. Even though I'm not using these skills in this chat, it is still contributing. So try not to create extra skills that you don't use. If there are any skills you're not using, delete them. So if you keep a track of things, you will know what to delete and what to keep. Similarly, you can do /context, and that will tell you what is contributing to your context. For example, the system prompt is contributing 3.5%, the system tools are contributing 5%, the messages are contributing 30%, the skills are contributing 3%, and you can also see where the memory files are stored. So just a few settings that can help you keep track of what you're doing. People actually come up with dashboards, etc. to understand where they're spending their tokens, etc. I mean, yeah, you can do that, but I think that this is also fine. I mean, that gives you a lot of information, but I feel that even knowing this much can help you really optimize. So now if you do follow this plan that we have been discussing throughout this video, you're not going to hit session limits. Apart from that, you can also apply a little common sense. For example, breaking down your Claude related work throughout the day. So instead of doing everything in the morning, do a little bit in the morning, little bit in the afternoon, and then at night. So it's more like planning your day. Or something that I do is that whenever I want to sleep, I do the task that consumes the most amount of tokens or something agentic AI related. And that probably takes a lot of my tokens, but then I eventually have to sleep, so I really don't care about it. And in the morning, I send a good morning message to my Claude Code that then restarts my session. And then in the middle, I get another reset, which is another cherry on the top, and I continue working. Just following this one tip only can also help you not hit your session limits, because this is the biggest contributor that I have been stressing on throughout the video, because it is, exponentially grows. So yeah, that is all I had to say. Here's a breakdown of the models as well. Haiku is the cheapest, Sonnet for everyday tasks, Opus for advanced ones. Opus is also the priciest. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope that now you know how you can reverse engineer this entire usage cycle. Let me know in the comments if you have any other practices that you follow that help you save tokens. And as I mentioned in the very beginning, if you're a business owner and you want to optimize your processes using AI, don't forget to check out the link to our website in the description. We'll start by helping you understand where AI can really help, and then we will also help you implement them end to end. Apart from that, if anyone wants to get on a one-on-one consulting call with me, check out the link to my consulting calendar in the description. If you want to connect with me personally, send me a connection request on LinkedIn and do follow me on X. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I will meet you in the next one. Till then, bye.